reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. You're listening to LOTRO Reporter on the MMO Reporter Network. Brought to you by Audible. Go to audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter to get your first month free. And by Doghouse Systems. Go to doghousesystems.com and use the coupon code MMO Reporter to get a free 120 gig SSD with your purchase. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of LOTRO Reporter. This is episode 315. I'm Chris, and I am joined, as always, by the ever-so-lovely Carrie. You have a damn sexy voice today, Carrie.
I do very much. That's what happens when you have a cold.
Oh, it's too bad. And it to be very blunt, it does sound like that cold is kicking your ass, and I'm sorry for that.
It is.
It is not fun for the holidays. What is fun for the holidays is having a guest host on the show. He is famous in our chat rooms. He is known for bringing the fight in. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. We've got, known in the chat rooms as Warrior Poet X, we've got Taylem here with us. Hello, Taylem. How are you?
Did we lose him?
No, I'm here.
There we go. Did you mute yourself?
No, I forgot to push the talk button. I got so excited. No,
Welcome.
no, it's good to be here, guys.
It's nice to have you here. What an auspicious start to the episode here.
It'll happen more often than not, probably.
So we're going to have a completely different format than usual here today. We are not going to be talking about what we have done in game. We're not going to be talking about anything other than the latest, greatest announcement that has come out of the Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons and Dragons Online community in a long time. I dare say this is probably the biggest announcement since launch. LOTRO.
Oh yeah, definitely even bigger than free to play.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. LOTRO and DDO will be spinning off into their own company, Standing Stone Games, and will no longer be under the umbrella of Turbine or of Warner Brothers. So there was an announcement in the forums, and I think the three biggest points here are, first of all, that the game teams responsible for Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons and Dragons Online are now moving from Turbine to Standing Stone Games, a newly formed indie game company. Standing Stone Games, a newly independent studio staffed by people who have been working on DDO and LOTRO for years, and their development continues on track, and the plans we have already announced remain firmly in our future view. Again, although we are a new studio, we are also the same developers who have been and will continue to work on the game. First thoughts on this announcement. Taylem, why don't you start for us as our guest? It hit me like a ton of bricks. What did you react like?
Actually, I reacted very positive because if you look back at the beginning of the game when Turbine was an independent studio, before they went free to play, before Warner Brothers came in, the game actually was in its meat and gravy period. It was very deep. It was at its most popular. And I think when it reverts back to an independent studio, I think being released from those chains of Warner Brothers, they're going to do some great stuff. They're going to have more room to breathe. I think the game could potentially make a second comeback. And it's my hopes that, LOTRO has its biggest time since, 2008.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Carrie? How did you react when you first saw this? Because I actually saw it on a tweet that you made on the LOTRO Reporter account.
Yeah, I just happened to be looking at Twitter and somebody had posted something from the forums and I was like, oh my goodness. I think that this could be a good thing. I think, especially with Turbine going to the mobile studio, and they having combined the teams like they have, because I'm just guessing from just we know that Jerry is the community manager for both teams, and Sev is the executive producer for both teams, and the store guy is the store guy for both teams. That both of these teams have been working toward this for a while, and I think it could be a good thing. I do have a few concerns, but I think everybody's got that. But I see this as a positive move.
And I did ask. I sent Jerry Snook, the community manager for both games, like you were mentioning, an email asking. I think one of the biggest questions for me was, is Standing Stone Games owned in any? Are they like a fully owned subsidiary of Turbine or Warner Brothers or anything like that? Like, does Turbine or Warner Brothers have any stake in the studio? And the reply that I got was, and I'll read it exactly here: Standing Stone Games is independently owned and has no connection to Turbine or WB. So they're not just doing this as a business move of a studio within a studio. I have a feeling it was are we going to shut it down, or what else are we going to do?
Yeah, and it's here you guys go, sink or swim.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's going to be a great thing. As I said before, getting them out from under that umbrella is going to give these guys the independence to just work their magic like they did in the early versions of the game.
Yeah, and thanks, Draculeta, for helping me out in the chat room there. Jerry's former forum name is Cordovan. So Cordovan is staying as the community manager and PR contact for the new studio. And there's some questions. I'll put this out there right now because I didn't bother asking because my experience says that they most likely will not be answered. And I don't know if they're necessarily that important anyway, which is which developers specifically are transferring over and at what size is the team that's transferring over.
I know Maid of Lions is going. I saw that on the forums. So that's, I think, one of the big concerns for people.
Yeah, without Maid of Lions, this game would suffer.
Right. Yeah. So that's some pretty big stuff here. The other thing that before we get into some big discussion here, or we can discuss it as we go. Sev did post some thoughts on the future of the game that's still in play. First of all, said, we are working hard on the Mordor expansion. We expect the content to be released over the course of several patches. In one of the follow-up patches of Mordor, we expect to include group content. We'd like a raid to come out at that time, but we are still working on the specifics of what that content will be. What do we think about this? I mean, group content, Carrie, it's fairly important to the game. The raiding community is a small but I think quite vibrant and vocal community. What do you think about their plans here for the Mordor stuff?
I think a raid is quite important at this point in time. I was really surprised that they I don't know how popular it was, honestly, but that they did bring out another 12-man raid or just this last few months. So hopefully that I do like small group contract, 3-man, 6-man, that kind of thing. And I could see where it would fit in. So I hope that they are able to do that.
Yeah. What about you, Taylem? What are you thinking about Mordor and our slow trek in that direction?
I think the pace that they're going has always been up and down. There's been long times without anything. But what I'm reading here is that they definitely have a plan set schedule. They're going to keep the content flowing in pockets and bits until we're through Mordor. Now, as far as the rating goes, the next paragraph that you haven't gotten into of this information pretty much answers all the concerns that I had. And I don't know if you want me to bring that up now, or do you want to read this first for the group?
Yeah. So why don't you summarize it for us?
Well, basically, my concern was, as when we have rating as an aspect of the game, there is a large amount of the player base that is, of course, going to be shut out of that content, which is understandable. But what I'm reading here is they're going to allow people that can't raid to be able to get advancement in their gear on raid quality level through other activities. Now, of course, it says here that there will be some items that are raid specific, which should satisfy the raiders that feel that, hey, I do the hardest content, I should get the best stuff. So I think this is a pretty good avenue that they're going here from what I'm reading in this paragraph. It alleviates a lot of my concerns because I used to be a hardcore raider, but now as I'm older and I have small children, raiding all the time is virtually impossible. So this makes me happy.
Yeah, and there's different gear for different play styles as well, right? Someone could get the best in slot for raiding gear. You only get through the raids, but maybe there's some stuff that works better in the open world, and that's going to be gotten in another way, right? We're all different gameplay puts in their time in different ways, and I do feel, and I'm perfectly okay with the best in slot items being locked behind a gate of some sort, but that gate should be able to be breached in many different ways. For raiders, the time in a raid. For other players, it should be through other ways in which you spend your time in game.
Yeah. I always had.
Oh, go ahead.
I always had a formula of time equals effort, time plus effort. And for raiders, they should get the best stuff much quicker. And for landscape people, they can get the same thing, but it takes a tremendously massive amount of effort.
Yeah. And from what Draculetta said in the chat room here, Cordovan, which is Jerry, said it's the same folks for both DDO and LOTRO. So looks like it's a wholesale move of the teams.
Yeah, and I kind of gather that from some of the comments.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But we had also talked about when Turbine was moving to a mobile studio that there was the possibility that some of the teams might be working on different projects, and someone might be on this project for this particular week because they're an artist and they need to work on that, but then they may move here and there and there. This makes me think that maybe that was the case between LOTRO and DDO, but that the mobile portion of the studio was completely separate.
Yeah, it's a completely different platform.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that if there was somebody that crossed over, they go, hey, this is what's happening. Pick your side.
Yeah.
And they...
Yeah. So, they are looking to make sure that they have different stuff in the game that's going to work for the different playstyles. And that's something, this is so consistent with what Turbine has said for so long about their design philosophy for the game. This doesn't feel like, okay, now we're going to be Standing Stone Games, we're going to do things super different. No, they're continuing along this path. Why? Because their player base is here. This is not a game that you need to revitalize and change the whole gameplay because the people you're going to bring in is going to be way bigger than the base you have there now. This is something where you need to satisfy your core gameplay community and maybe bring back some players who have been away from the game for a while.
Yeah,
However,
as long as they do that avenue where they extend an olive branch to every particular kind of play style and keep those people happy with the ability to do all the content, because also in this paragraph, they want raiders to do more than just raid. They want them to also find compelling reasons to do this other activities, and perhaps even make non-raiders, given the ability, you know what, I'll try this raid out. So it's all positive from what I'm reading here, and let's just hope it lives up to it.
And the thing about the raiding community, too, is that it does tend to be quite evangelical for the game itself because of the dedication required to be a part of that community. You know the game better than most people.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. I do, I forgot to put it in the notes, but I found an article. They did mention, back to your point of keeping things the same, they did mention that they were thinking possibly about reskinning our characters. And you know how that works. That has gone well in some cases and horribly in others. So
they'll have a little toggle in there in the options where you can choose new models or old models.
I
Every
don't
game
know.
that's done that has had that. EverQuest 2 has it. World of Warcraft has it.
Well,
they
changed the Hobbit run, and there was rioting in the streets. It was really, really bad run, but they changed it, and there was, believe me, there was rioting. Nobody wanted to play their Hobbits anymore because it was
reskinning or an animation pass? Because I'd like to see an animation pass. That like a modernization.
I think
of
it was
animations.
reskinning. Let me get to my Evernote, and because I cut it there, it was a article on massively OP.
Okay.
And it was a quick thing, so I'll drop it in. Proceed.
Draculetta says, AKA Hobbit Gate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't play Hobbit, so I didn't really care.
I did. It was ugly.
Yeah, you know what? My only Hobbit is my one that I did the full run of the Shire, all the deeds, all the full completionist of the Shire, and that's my only real Hobbit, my little hunter. Yeah. And they do in all this discussion, Cordovan did mention that all the assets come with this deal, as well as Standing Stone Games hired all of the developers that were working on LOTRO and DDO. The one thing that was not mentioned at all was the license, which is something we've been discussing for quite a while. So here's the question. Does this make it easier or harder for the license? If the license had been renewed, they would have told us already. I think that's a given. Every time it has been renewed, they do it. So whether it's a final signature is needed or the entire negotiation is needed, we have no idea.
I can make a very good educated guess on all that stuff that you just said. I can guarantee that right now, behind closed doors, that all of that has been done. It is probably a transition period right now of getting the games switched over to Standing Stone and Daybreak to get all that done before they go into those intimate little details. Because Daybreak is not only just an American publishing company; it's also an investment company, and I can guarantee that they would not have put their name on this if they did not have these a very good deal set up for the licensing. And how the licensing will no doubt work, because originally when Turbine was an independent company, they licensed through Warner Brothers, who's of course purchased the license through Middle Earth Enterprises, South Sands. And as it's going to work now, I'm pretty sure that Standing Stone and Daybreak are still going to pay just a licensing fee to Warner Brothers, because they have to. Warner Brothers has all the media rights to the Lord of the Rings franchise. And then, of course, as standard, Warner Brothers gives their dues to Middle Earth Enterprises. So I'm pretty sure that I don't know how many years it'll be extended, but they definitely have a lock on this for at least a handful. I'd be surprised if it comes out that it's only for a year or two. I'll be really surprised.
I'm right with you. I agree with that. It'd be hard to make this transition without that in place. It'd be hard for the employees to decide to leave Turbine, whatever the situation was, stick with Standing Stone Games if they did not have that security there of knowing that the game's going to continue, right?
Yeah.
Now, I wonder if, with all this as well, if this is going to change a little bit the culture within the LOTRO and DDO teams. It's one thing when you're working for a corporate overlord, and this is completely again the hallmark of MMO Reporter and LOTRO Reporter is wild baseless speculation. It's hard enough working for a corporate overlord, but maybe now that they are the small independent studio again, who knows? Maybe we'll see this resurgent in energy from the team and stuff. Not that there was ever a lack of it, but there was definitely a shift in tone once they moved to Warner Brothers. Any thoughts?
I don't believe I have played Lord of the Rings Online prior to their move to Warner Brothers, so I didn't particularly notice a change in tone in, say, the way things were pushed out and stuff like that. So I can't speak to that kind of thing.
I mean, there was definitely change of tone in the community and the response from Turbine itself. There was a definite tone shift compared to what it was before, it went free to play. Because free to play was, pretty much the hallmark of Warner Brothers' signature within the game. So there was definitely a tonal shift. Whether it was good or bad, that's subjective. The game has still continued since that point. And, we've had 3 expansions plus numerous content upgrades with pockets of extended time without anything, but not really any more than any other MMO that's, out there right now. So.
Yeah, I just always, I can say from personal experience that there was a distinct shift in talking to the same people pre and post Warner Brothers, just trying to cover the game. It was a very different experience.
Right, and I did notice that that as soon as 7 Cordovan came on, that there seemed to be more willingness to tell us things that, this is what we're working on, but of course, it may not come true, which when Fredel and Sapiens were there, it was very toe the line, don't
Mhm.
give the information, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
was kind of surprised actually at the amount of stuff that was coming out
Yeah.
that I was clearly not run through the corporate machine.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through some of the items of the FAQ that were that was posted along with this announcement, and we've already talked about parts of it, so I'll bring up some bits that we haven't yet. What about my account? And the reply to that is your account login information remains the same. You keep all purchases, including turbine points, VIP subscription time, lifetime memberships for LOTRO, and any things you've picked up in the in-game store. Which is good, and to go with that, they always look at VIP costs, but there's nothing that they're looking to change right now, but it's possible, and turbine points will remain the same.
Except for the name.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because it's the same systems that if you were to buy turbine points, you can use, or LOTRO points, you could also use them on DDO and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when we're on the topic of accounts, one of the things that caught my eye is the line right here where it says, at the cost and value of the VIP program remains unchanged, although it's possible that we may offer additional benefits or tiers of subscription in the future. Now, the biggest reason why this is interesting and kind of a concern for me is because I'm a lifetime member.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if they do this multiple tiered subscription, they can put lifetimers anywhere they want. They can throw lifetime. Okay, you're the lowest tier. You have access to the game, but if you want this tier and this tier that gives you this, this, and this, and this, you're going to have to pay up. So that's one of the things that I'm wondering right now by reading this.
I really have a hard time imagining them doing that. I would think my first thought, if they were to add additional tiers, is that lifetime members would be at the top tier. That's
yeah. As I was saying, this is just a worst case scenario worry. It's not something that's keeping me up at night.
I think that the way that that's worded to me is, hey, let's add this here just so that they can't quote us later. Right?
Sorry.
Rather than its own, it's there for a very specific reason. I think that's a cover our ass sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and it could be. I don't know what other models at Daybreak are, but there could be the base, $9.99, which gives you this, but for $12.99 a month, we can give you this extra thing or two, and I see that more as that kind of thing.
It'll be like in-game perks or maybe a discount in the store.
Can you imagine the poop storm that would happen if they were like, okay, lifetime members, you're right here on this middle tier, but for $4.99 a month, you too can get the exclusive, very important person tier, and you can get this and this. Oh my God!
As long as it's not game breaking, if it's just fluff.
Oh, you know what?
But
I would
people
get my
would
popcorn.
leave.
I would get my popcorn and sit there staring at my screen as I slowly ate my popcorn and watched the forums poop themselves onto the floor. Poor Bob could never handle that forum traffic. Sorry, Bob
What are you gonna do?
Bob is the server that runs everything that dies.
Bob squared.
Right. I thought we were on Bob Cube now.
We are on Bob Cube now. Yeah, because we melted him.
That's right. All those every time there's a weather stock.
Now,
Bob melts.
Draculetta points out that he would love to see a LOTRO/DDO sub. I don't know that would ever happen, but that would be pretty awesome.
Oh, they do have Daybreak. Does have their all access pass on their EverQuest side, which gives you access. EverQuest 1, 2, the DC universe, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
And the cost of the all access isn't really more inexpensive than the typical $14.99. So
okay, so that's all the account side stuff. What about downtime as they switch everything over? Their answer is watch the forums. There might be.
Yeah. But let's see, where did it go? There was something about servers. They're continuing to use this current data center there in Boston or wherever it was.
Yeah.
So they're not planning on changing the servers, which was part of the big problems with the... Right.
And just to restate again, because a couple people have asked in the chat room, the quote from Cordovan, from Jerry Snook, the community manager and PR person for Standing Stone Games. Standing Stone Games is independently owned and has no connection to Turbine or WB. I should have asked how big of a stake Daybreak has in them.
Yeah, we didn't ask that
Yeah,
yet. I'm very interested to say. So then, everybody's going poo-poo the license. Well, I think the word updated is very specifically used in this FAQ.
Yeah, it's updated. It hasn't expired yet. It was set to expire in 2017, but now it's updated to some other time in the future.
Yeah.
And I said, I think Dracula said up here that pretty much he was spot on. As long as Token Enterprises is happy, the license is going to keep being renewed. It's only when they start pitching a stink that we might have a problem.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And of course, no changes to the websites or anything like that. All the URLs are going to change. They might make some changes. All the URLs are going to stay the same. They might make some changes to the look and corporate logos and stuff like that. Now, there is some discussion on the FAQ about Daybreak Games, and the FAQ officially states Daybreak Games' role as publisher for LOTRO and DDO should have no impact on any existing Daybreak games. And our chat room did have some questions about this, and we just pretty much don't have the answers. But again, wild baseless speculation here.
We can give you answers, and it might not be right, but we can give you
exactly.
We do that all the time. It's fine.
That's what we do.
I know, Chris. I used to have a checklist every time I listened to your podcast. I wrote them
down. Let's. I'm gonna start. I do think there's some investment from Daybreak Games. We talked about this off the air a little bit, but I think Taylem, you probably mentioned it the best and the most succinctly. So why don't you give your thought process behind the idea that Daybreak is most likely an investor in Standing Stone Games as well as a publisher?
Well, it kind of comes down to it because when the Standing Stone game was formed, they formed by the developers and employees that worked on DDO and LOTRO within Turbine. Now, you could assume, okay, maybe they all pitched in from their own bank accounts to do this, but it's a kind of an expensive endeavor to purchase all the machines, probably pick up the cost of the workspace. And I can almost guarantee you that Daybreak, as a publisher, is also a financial company. They do a lot of investments. So I can guarantee that Standing Stone's money backer is Daybreak. They're the ones that, hey, we will put down the gill for this. We trust you to run with it. Now, whether that means that Daybreak is going to have any say in the development of the game, I really doubt it. But from a financial standpoint, I'm pretty darn tootin' sure that Daybreak is the money bags behind this transition.
Yeah, and didn't Daybreak get purchased by an investment firm company?
No, Daybreak is in partnership with a Russian investment firm.
That's
company.
what it was, yeah.
Yeah, but the Russian company does not own Daybreak.
Okay.
They're kind of like buddies.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's gonna be it. What do you think, Carrie? Do you think there's some financial stakes for Daybreak in this Standing Stone Games?
I would be surprised if there wasn't. I don't know how much. The money had to come from somewhere, and I'm pretty sure the devs and the community manager weren't putting it up. But it'd be interesting. That's kind of where my question came, is like, so was WB just carving it off and still covering, and then Daybreak was going to publish, and they were paying Daybreak for the publishing, but it sounds like it's the more I think about it, it's going back the other direction, and Daybreak's paying them to publish.
WB was all, just give me my money and go.
Hey, Draculetta just got the information that I was thinking of in the chat room here. When Sony broke off Daybreak Games, they sold it to Columbus Nova, who is an investment firm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Daybreak Games is owned by an investment company founded in 2000, based in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're also in partnership with other stuff. So yeah, so there's investment in that company structure, for lack of a better term. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Draculetta. Hey, I recognize that. Yep.
Kaithos Meltdown is mentioning that he or she is willing to bet that most likely they want to own the biggest names in titles in RPG for future titles. So now they have EverQuest, they have Lord of the Rings, and DDO. So maybe there's possible titles.
Yeah.
And
They're dreaming if they'll
Voidcroft.
get a hold of World of Warcraft, which is saying.
Well, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But Voidcroft is saying that the Russians do owe DBG.
Yeah.
So.
So I mean, it's pretty exciting. I have one thing that I need to get off my chest because I've been trying all podcasts not to cry about this,
I see, yes.
and that's the Asheron's Call and Asheron's Call 2 will be shutting down in January.
Yep, they're shuttling it.
Yeah. So I'm surprised at how much I care about that when I haven't played either. Probably close to 5 or 6 years. Right? Like I'm really disappointed in that. And what I hope is that they somehow find the code. And those of you who listen to MMO Reporter will roll your eyes as I mention the story. Once again, they need to find the code from the end of the open beta when they sent a huge flippin' asteroid to the Earth to destroy the Earth. And they need to do that again. I know that there's no team and no money, but make it happen. Make it happen now. Sorry. I'm a little...
It's important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
And the bummer part is that they're unable to release their player side servers. They were going to release the code, so people can continue their adventures, but apparently that's not happening anymore.
Yeah. Yep, our chat room is inconsolable at the moment with news of Asheron's Call's demise. It's a sad... It's funny that I'm so upset. I think it's because Asheron's Call was the first game, and Bill, who's a co-host for LOTRO Reporter when we launched, and MMO Reporter, that was the first game that he and I really played together a lot, was Asheron's Call. And we were both playing it at the same time. So there's that connection. I have the same connection with DDO because that's the first game that myself and my wife, Selenia, and Bill's wife, and that's what we all played together. So there's these games that are I'm so emotionally invested in that I haven't played DDO in forever. But, yeah. I'm just happy that Standing Stone games happened so that didn't happen to LOTRO. Can you imagine if the discussion right now was, oh, by the way, Turbines decided to close LOTRO and DDO, so you got a month. Okay, bye, everybody.
Oh, that would be so sad.
Especially for the people that just bought, a couple $100 worth of Turbine points.
Right.
On sale, yeah.
Most companies who have shuttered their games that have had plans like points or anything like that have refunded for, a couple of weeks or a month before the announcement date. People's purchases. I think City Heroes did stuff like that. A couple of other games have done that, have refunded, because you don't want to stop letting people purchase and then announce, because that's just going to create chaos in your community. So you announce and then you retroactively reimburse.
And more than likely, also, they just didn't want Asheron's Call when they split these games off. Asheron's Call probably was initially on the table, but they probably didn't want it. Well,
can you imagine the work that it would be to keep someone around who understands the languages that are used to build that game? It's not the same engine as LOTRO and DDO. LOTRO and DDO are the same engine, just variations thereof, right?
It's like when I built my first computer, back in the early 90s, it was with DOS, DOS 5.0 and 6.0. And I was thinking, could I build a computer of that era again? Could I load DOS and do all the bad files or whatever? Right now, again, I could not. It's been so long. I'd be like,
It's like a company having to keep that one IT guy around because he knows how to use DOS and he can get, or Windows XP or whatever proprietary software that can't be, solved by anybody else. Yeah. Disappointed is the wrong word. I'm understandably upset, but also hold no ill will towards Turbine or Standing Stone games.
Yeah, I just wish they would have got that code out so people could get their own servers and enjoy the game still.
I wonder what it is about it, because the only reason I can think of that they wouldn't was some sort of legal requirement, right? So where in what contract with what? Maybe it's the contract with Microsoft for Asheron's Call, because that was a joint project with Microsoft.
I don't know. It might have been just the they want to retain it for who knows what the future may bring, or it just took too much work and they didn't want to invest the time and money into getting that going.
Yeah, that's sad. That is sad. All right, as we close things off here, chat room, why don't you start giving us any questions that you might have that we might not have touched on in here. Taylem, what's your hopes for the future of LOTRO and DDO as we go through this pretty major transition?
Well, for me, I look at it on the programming end, on the mechanical end of the game. I want to see the game on a better engine. I want LOTRO on a 64-bit engine. Because all the problems that happen in this game is because of its older 32-bit limitations. Anything over 4 gigs of use in the system, the game isn't going to use. So people wonder, why I got this brand new computer? Why isn't LOTRO running 1,000 times better? It's because of the limitation of the game itself. So I want a new engine. Everything else is going to happen as it's going to happen, but please, Standing Stone, give me a new engine. For the love of God. That's all I ask.
Yeah. Carrie, what about you?
Get me to Mordor, please.
Get you to Mordor on time?
Well, we know that's coming.
Yeah, but let's get past. It'd be nice to get past Mordor, but
and fill in the South Farthing of it, and make the land between Ered and the Shire there, so you just don't zone halfway through, Eriador.
Yeah.
The Red Marches, I believe.
Yeah, and Game Diplomat in the chat room is asking, why did they choose Standing Stone? You asked that earlier, but we missed it. What do we think? Is there any connection? My Google search has shown 2 things. One, there's a Standing Stone State Park in Tennessee, and also the menhirs, which are stones in Brittonic languages.
Well, think about it. Where do you go to die in LOTRO? Into a circle of standing stones, right?
Yeah, that's true.
What kills you in Angmar? Those standing stone statues, right?
I'm sorry. You mean Angry Mar?
Angry Mar.
Angry Mar. I'm sorry.
I love Angmar. It's one of my favorite zones in the game.
Yeah.
He must leave now.
Yeah, it's
because I have fond memories of it. That's whenever I had a new friend to play the game, I wouldn't tell him what happens in Angmar, and I take them to the statues and go, just run across. Just go over there. Go over there. I want to take a screenshot. And then they die, and I laugh my butt off.
You're allowed to have your own opinions about different zones in the game, even if you mispronounce them. I understand.
Yeah. Draculetta is mentioning that Standing Stone was also module for D&D 3.5.
Yes, it was.
There you go. Yeah,
so there's 2 things that were related.
And Voidcroft in the chat room also disagrees with you, Taylem, that revamping the engine is probably something that's not within the capabilities of what Standing Stone is going to have on staff and the time and resources.
Hey, I was trying to be hopeful, man. Don't crush my dreams. Don't crush my dreams.
You know what? I mean, it's a whole different size of a company, but Blizzard has successfully revamped their engine multiple times long.
Oh, yeah.
Mind you,
Blizzard, they're awesome when it comes to keeping their engine going. Oh, yeah. They're amazing at keeping that. To get LOTRO over to 64-bit, it basically is redesigned to recompile the game. Mm-hmm. It's not completely rebuilding the engine. They would have to redesign, retweak it, and recompile it for 64-bit.
Right. I would be happy to start with the new animation pass. I still think that's my least favorite part of LOTRO is the animation system.
Just that they want to add and refine new systems. They can't keep building it on this old engine.
That's correct. Yeah, I
they're
agree.
gonna have to do something.
Wonder if that had some. I don't wonder. I'm sure that had some impact on mounted combat and the rubber banding that happened there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Kythos Meltdown asks in the chat room as well, does a sub give access to the entire game in LOTRO? Sub does give you access to the entire
except
game.
Except for
expansions. Expansions you have to purchase. So first 50 levels of content you will have access to, and then you can purchase the expansions in-game.
Yeah, so it's a Mirkwood and all of those, but yeah.
Actually, doesn't a sub give you access to all non-expansion content, like Eden Waith and the Great River?
Yeah, but all the stuff that's higher level.
Lothlorien,
you would have access to all that stuff, but you'd need the expansion to. Well, I guess not. I guess you could skirmish.
Well, you need your expansions to go do like Riders of Rohan content, Helm's Deep, Siege of Mirkwood,
Moria. Okay, I'm just trying to look at here. Carrie,
I don't see anything else in the chat that.
oh, there's a big long one here that I was trying to help you. You would say something while I read it to see whether or not I could
Okay,
say something
yes.
interesting, Carrie.
I will try to say something interesting. The Winter Festival is out. I'm very excited. There are more kites. I will give them credit. We are getting some very, very interesting, pretty, and shinies. And the blanket horses have been particularly lovely the last couple of festivals.
Oh, that's another one of my hopes, guys. Account-wide horses. I am tired
Oh,
of the cost of horses being for just one character. If I'm going to drop $20 for a horse, make it for all of them, please.
I
Yeah.
love mounts. I love mounts a lot. It's a problem, in fact, you might say.
I
Especially
don't
spider
buy them
mounts.
unless they're account-wide.
But yeah, account wide would be really nice. Most other games have it account wide. So I finally got the question here from 11 Core asking, just discussing hope for the future again, and he was mentioning just a little bit more exact combat stats, in that he would be able to calculate his DPS and stuff like that, because right now he feels like it's more like rolling the dice than working through a formula.
Hey,
Well,
welcome
if
to
they're-
D&D.
Well, and that's
Well,
the
if-
thing. I like that variability, because it is more like, a game then, right? It's not exact. You hit, it's exactly this much damage.
But I would like it if you proverbially rolled a 1 in LOTRO, if you like drop your sword or you trip and fall or you get stuck in the mud. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Well, they are the same engine, and 3.5 is DDO is very much. You can watch the dice roll in the corner of your screen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's close this off here. Final thoughts from Carrie. Why don't we start from you?
I am excited to see what 2017 brings us with this new Standing Stone games. I'm very excited to see what's going on and see the new content they're going to bring out. I probably would never see the raid, but I'm very excited to see more stories.
Awesome. Taylem, what about you?
General excitement, hoping from that engine. Are you listening, guys? Make it happen. I hope Standing Stone doesn't become Tombstone.
Yeah. I hope so too. Here's my overall thoughts on this. I think more important than anything else is that I trust the team on LOTRO and DDO. I've had the good fortune to meet them several times. I have been playing this game since betas, and although I don't always agree with the choices that they make, I trust them to shepherd this game into a really, really great experience for the next few years. I really do. And for all of you who are feeling stressed about this, I felt a similar stress when it was going free to play. And while I don't agree with all of the decisions that they've made, I trust the team, I trust the developers, I trust the community team, and I think that they're going to do a fantastic job.
Oh, I completely agree with you.
All right, looks like our chat room is basically agreeing with all of us. Good thoughts their way, good thoughts towards the LOTRO and DDO team. It's going to be a tough transition. I'm looking forward to seeing, maybe a studio tour once they get all set up in the new place, and they've got their new digs all set up. I'd love to see what that looks like. A little bit more community engagement even. Would love to have them on the show as much as they're willing to be. And basically, really looking forward to a great 2017 in the Lord of the Rings Online. Who knows? Maybe we'll hop back into DDO too.
All right, yeah, be fun.
Yep,
All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Taylem, for joining us for this extra special episode of LOTRO Reporter. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show and not just heckling in the chat room.
Yes.
That means I can heckle you here. Awesome.
That's right. That's right.
It will happen.
And Carrie, as always, an absolute pleasure recording with you.
Oh, you as well. Thank you. Everybody have happy holidays.
And thanks to everyone who was in the chat room. It's a very different time for us, coming at you in the middle of the day. It's awesome to chat with so many people in the chat room, to talk to all of you who listen to the MP3, and to have all of you who watch the YouTube version. Thanks to everyone for consuming the podcast, however you may do so. We hope you come back in the new year, but most importantly, we hope to see you in game. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at mmoreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/mmoreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.